Chapter 19. Who Watches the Watcher? Oh, time's almost up. Look, there's a few things you're going to need if you want to survive out here. A weapon, or at least a lot more ammo for the one you have, armored barding, a bit of guidance, and most importantly, you need to make some friends. I can't believe there was nothing in their database, Cobalt moaned for the 152nd time in the past hour or so. Seriously, man, get over it. Not a thing on the Ministry's research. Zilch, nothing. We'd all gotten a good amount of rest, and I, for one, had been all too happy to sleep on an actual bed that wasn't ridden with lice. When I had woken up the next morning, however, Cobalt's bad mood had become quickly apparent. According to him, he had spent much of the night combing the stable's mainframe for any nugget of information about Twilight Sparkle's research revolving around the changelings. But he had come up empty-handed. Apparently, they hadn't stored any of that information within the stable. Or if they had ever actually intended to, the bombs had dropped first. So now we were as clueless to the Ministry's project as we were when we set out, meaning Cobalt had nothing to take back to the Twilight Society. Honestly, I think only Cobalt was particularly bothered by that. Goddesses, damn it! See? He really hasn't taken the revelation well. While he had deprived himself of any meaningful sleep in his pursuit of science, me, Stripe, and Altrix were all rested up and ready to go by the morning. It also seemed that during the night, Princess in Cities had wasted no time in sending out her security teams to deal with the ghouls. I just hope they had taken a bunch of Rad-X before venturing out into the hive as we had. It seems to have gone well, though, seeing as we passed a lot of living changelings and more than a few ghoul cadavers. Though more than a few looked a little queasy from the whole affair. And given that this was the first real action any of them had seen, I wasn't surprised. Still, it probably wouldn't be long until they started whatever cleanup of the place they had planned. Who knows, maybe when we'd return, the changelings would have made something of the old ruin. Altrix had stuck close to us as we had walked through the hive's hallways. She seemed even more disturbed by the ghouls and darkness than the security teams. She also hadn't said much since we had left, so I hadn't had much of a chance to get to know our new traveling companion better. But there would be plenty of time for that later. As for where Cobalt was making his 154th complaint, we were just passing through the hive's main entrance and stepping over the old bones scattered around in there. Complaining to us will not change what is, Stripe chided the other unicorn. Stripe's right, I supported. It's kinda giving me a headache. Cobalt sighed. Right. Sorry. It's really irritating to come all this way for nothing. Well, we could always stumble across another really convenient memory orb. Our track record for that is pretty decent so far, I joked, thumping the unicorn lightly on the shoulder. Don't worry about it. We have a new job to do anyway. I don't know much about this Stable 77, Cobalt mused, stopping as we walked into the cave outside the main entrance. There wasn't much about it beyond the location, built into the Galloping Gorge. There wasn't anything about it at Ten Pony? Not this one, no, he replied with a shake of his head. I don't know the population numbers, and if it requires an access code. The Galloping Gorge, Stripe mused. That is remote. Who would have taken shelter within? Probably ponies from Prosperity. That's on the way, if I'm remembering that metro map correctly, Cobalt suggested. Maybe some from Van Hoover, too, if they couldn't get into a more local one. I could only imagine the rush to get into that place when the world went to shit. Well, we'd either find it filled with dwellers or a dead tomb, but we wouldn't know either way by just standing around in a cave. So we started walking again and kept moving, until daylight could be seen ahead. We stepped over the Steel Ranger corpses and emerged into the usual dull wasteland day. Altrix stopped dead, her jaw hitting the ground. "Altrix?" I asked, and we all turned to look at her with some concern. "What's up?"
Up.
Altrix just parroted, staring up at the sky. Up? Well, yeah, that's what I just... Oh.
Where's the ceiling?
Altrix squeaked.
It's so big and empty. I feel like I'm going to fall upwards.
Right, she'd lived her whole life in the stable. The surface was new to her. She'd never even seen clouds outside of whatever books they have stashed away down there. Maybe a holotape or two, even. Oh boy, we should have thought about this before bringing her out. It's fine, I tried assuring the changeling. The only way you'll go up there is by your own wings. You won't fall.
Really?
He is correct. We have lived beneath the clouds and sky as long as you have lived beneath a metal ceiling, Stripe added helpfully. It is safe. Do not fret.
Sorry.
She apologized, composing herself and taking a few experimental steps into the daylight.
I've just never seen so much space. What do you ponies do with it all?
That was it. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. I mean, I kind of felt bad for laughing, but come on! Her reaction to the outside was priceless. And then Altrix drooped, scuffing the ground with a hoof. Okay, now I felt really bad. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. It was still funny, though. But yeah, you'll be fine. Since you have wings, the clouds would probably be solid to you anyway. Altrix tilted her head.
Solid? Clouds?
They are to Pegasi, Cobalt explained. I can't say if changelings work the same, but griffins do. Though I wouldn't fly up too high. There are ponies up there who don't take kindly to intruders.
Oh, okay.
Altrix quietly replied, the changeling mare having a good look around the area we were in.
So, which way?
I took a glance at my Pip-Buck's map, also taking a glance at the latest marker on my eye-forward sparkle. They both conclusively pointed west. This way, I said to the others, leading the way out of the crater while avoiding the eviscerated remains of the rad scorpion. The moment we got up the slope, Altrix was nearly floored again, since she could now almost see from horizon to horizon. Still, we were ready to go. I gave one final check to my equipment, ensuring my shotgun and pistol were secured and all my supplies were safely stored in my saddlebags. In-Cities had supplied us with food, Med-X, Radaway, Rad-X, healing potions, anything we needed, really. I'd never felt this well-stocked, and that wasn't including the extra medical supplies in Altrix's medical boxes. I think she even had 2 Hydra in there. Everything was there, and we were ready to go find this stable. And I had barely taken a single step when I heard the music. Okay, what the fuck was it now? We all gave each other confused glances, having a look around the landscape to see if we could spot the source of the music. Whatever it wasn't immediately obvious. The music, wherever it was coming from, was irritatingly cheerful. Seriously, give me Sweetie Belle any day over this crap.
Is this normal for the surface?
Altrix asked, her wings buzzing nervously. Before I could answer, I saw something emerge from a nearby cluster of blackened trees and rock. It was a small metallic ball with antennas sticking up behind it. It hovered idly toward us, playing its terrible music, the ball's bar on my EFS being green to mark it as friendly. A spritebot? Cobalt questioned, stepping toward the small robot. A what? Now that I got closer, I could see a small weapon attached to the front. I made sure to be ready to snatch up my shotgun at a moment's notice. You're telling me you've never scrapped one of these for parts? Well, now that he mentioned it, the bot did have a familiar design. though not as familiar as the larger Mr. Handy was to me. Must not have been a particularly memorable bit of salvage. Still, never seen one out and about before. Suppose it could be added to the list of recent firsts. You can sometimes see them around the wasteland, playing random musical pieces. Cobalt continued, and the robot came to a halt in front of us. Cobalt circled it, giving it a look over. Some old pre-war broadcasts. Nothing special. The music was suddenly cut off in a flurry of static, and we all took a united step back as the robot shuddered before a voice suddenly came from it. "That's rather harsh. I find them particularly useful," a tinny voice remarked from the machine. Well, what the hell just happened? What? Huh? What? Never seen a spritebot talk before? No. Not surprising. I don't know many others who can hack into their network and take manual control. The spritebot said rather... That was smugness in the robotic chatter, right? Name's Watcher. I've been waiting for you to come out. And why have you done so, Watcher? Stripe asked cautiously. Well, I heard about the scavenger's quest to find Stable 84 from DJ Pone3, Watcher explained. So I decided to have this little guy keep an eye on you, see what happened. Why? What's your interest in Stable 84? I asked. And who the hell are you? I'm Watcher. Yeah, I got that bit. As for why... How are the changelings doing? Huh? Judging by your faces, you're surprised I know about them, Watcher noted. Well, I know a lot of things. I watch. It's why I'm the Watcher. I get it. I interrupted him, already feeling a headache coming on. So what do you want with them exactly? Want with them? Me? Oh, nothing, he explained, and I was more than a little dubious. What I want to know is, what do you want with them? What do you mean? You're the one that's been stalking us. I haven't been stalking you. Spritebot has. And where is the difference? And I mean, you went through a great deal of trouble to get here. There has to be a reason. Watcher then turned to Altrix, who was standing behind us. In a flash, he had floated around us and stopped near the changeling, who shrunk back a little at the spritebot's sudden appearance. And it seems like you came out with a changeling as well, Watcher noted. I haven't seen a drone in, well, a long time. You're not under duress, are you?
No, Mr. Watcher, sir.
Stripe stepped between Altrix and the spritebot, giving Watcher a warning glare. Huh. Watcher hummed. Interesting. We didn't kill them all, if that's what you're asking, I said to the annoying robot. And we're not telling you shit about the stable. We don't know you or why you're here. Fair enough, Watcher replied. But given your protectiveness of them, I'm guessing you're helping the hive in some way? How observant, Cobalt deadpanned. Ah, so it's true. Is that why you came out here? Not exactly, I answered. That's just how things turned out. They must be giving you something valuable. Perhaps what you came out here for? I didn't answer. Whoever was on the other side of this spritebot was asking a lot of questions. What were the chances they saw some technically gifted raider looking for an easy target? Look, Watcher began. I'm no threat to you, or the changelings. What I watch for is threats to innocent people still living in the wasteland. I merely want to know if these changelings mean any harm to Equestria, as they've done in the past, or if they don't, then they're the ones who are under threat. So you watch for dangers? Stripe questioned. That's all? Well, there is one other thing, but we'll get to that in a moment, Watcher answered. So please, tell me, why are you helping the changelings? I'm guessing they're not a threat, or the pony who saved an innocent family on that highway probably wouldn't be doing this. I just want to know what the scavenger and his friends are getting in return for whatever job they've been given. Nothing, I responded. I came for caps, didn't get any, but there are people down there who need help badly, so we're helping. That's it. Just helping for the sake of helping, huh? He questioned. I had a feeling it was something like that. I've been keeping an eye on your journey for some time. So why did you think we'd hold Altrix under duress? I didn't, but I had to be sure, he responded. In fact... Watcher was silent for a few moments, and I had to wonder what was going on in that tin can's head. Or at least in the head of whoever was hacking into the machine. There's a town, about a day's trot from here. Prosperity, Watcher finally stated. Pre-war, no major settlement is there now. Yes, we know it, Cobalt said, frowning. It's on the way to where we're heading. Why are you interested in it? There's something there I'd like you to see, at the local Megamart, Watcher stated. It's urgent. You'll understand when you get there. Well, that's not cryptic at all. Mind telling us what exactly we're looking for? Watcher was silent a moment. I advise you four to keep each other close. Friendship, well, it's valuable. Magic, even. Don't lose it. A burst of static, and then the spritebot started to play music again. We watched as it began to move away, floating off to Celestia knows where.
Who exactly was that?
Altrix asked in confusion. I have absolutely no idea, I answered. Because really, that was one of the most random exchanges I have ever had. And I wasn't so sure I liked the idea of a disembodied voice watching our every move. But one way or another, my Pip-Buck seemed to like the idea. Investigate Prosperity's Megamart. As Watcher had predicted, it took us a day to reach Prosperity, the town just now coming into view. After our meeting with the strange voice, we hadn't encountered anything that could really top it. Just more dead trees and scorched rocks. Before we found an old road leading in the direction we wanted. The town itself looked much like Haven, broken and abandoned. The complete antithesis of its name, really. We didn't enter right away. Instead, we skirted around the town while keeping an eye out for the Megamart that Watcher had told us about. Really, we were still a bit cautious as to whether we should be trusting our mysterious acquaintance. But he had seemed sincere enough when we had talked to him previously. I just hoped we were right about that. It shouldn't be too far, I said to the others. I mean, it should look like the one we slept in back in Manhattan, right? More or less, Cobalt confirmed. It should have a big sign out front, if nothing else.
I've been meaning to ask.
Altrix spoke up.
What is a Megamart, exactly?
Where ponies went to buy produce before the Day of Doom, Stripe explained to the changeling. Food wasn't so hard fought for back then.
We just get our food from the hydroponics lab,
Altrix said.
There we grow apples, carrots, that kind of stuff.
Most ponies out here have to make do with whatever they can find, I informed her. Normally 200-year-old canned food.
Ew.
Altrix aptly responded.
I'm sorry.
It's not that bad. They preserve pretty well, I responded. Also, eating it for your whole life gets you used to the taste. Still, it must be nice to have fresh food.
Well, I guess so.
Altrix responded.
I...
What the fuck is that? a new voice shouted. "Do we stamp it?" Altrix gave a yeep as we all turned to see the rude bastard who shouted. From off to the side, there were 3 ponies in scrap armor pointing various crappy-looking guns our way. "You idiot! Now they know we're here!" another shouted. "Ah, shit, just kill them all!" "Altrix, back!" I shouted as I grabbed the mare with my magic and shoved her away from the first volley of gunfire. Once she was out of the way behind us, I quickly extracted my pistol and turned to face the raiders coming at us. But they weren't going to wait, and they'd already closed the gap between our groups. I entered Sats immediately. I set up 3 shots, 1 for the head, and then failing that, 1 for each foreleg. Without hesitation, I engaged the spell. My first shot hit its target, and I watched as the side of the raider's head was stripped away in fragments of brain and skull. As he fell, his body skidding across the ground, one of his buddies jumped over the corpse and sprayed with his automatic rifle. I moved to the side, but Cobalt gave a hiss of pain as a bullet struck his left foreleg. While this was happening, the third raider made the mistake of contending with Stripe. He may have gotten too close for the sniper to be of any use, at least as a gun, but it still worked just as well as a club around the raider's head. Cobalt yanked the second raider's gun away with his magic, following Stripe's example and whacking him around the head. I aimed and fired at the raider, his bar blinking out, while Stripe bucked away her adversary far enough that she could bring up her rifle in all its glory. And just like that, it was done.
Why?
Altrix whimpered, laying exactly where I had pushed her.
They're dead. You killed those ponies. Why would they attack us like they...
Stripe moved over and knelt beside Altrix, helping the changeling up. "Some ponies are foolish as such," she explained. "Raiders are a sad reality of the surface, Altrix. One of the many dangers up here." I sighed, turning to check on Cobalt. He was holding his hoof and it was bleeding badly. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Altrix's demeanor completely change, from a shell-shocked stable dweller to some kind of action mare.
You're hurt!
She shouted in alarm, rushing over to Cobalt and looking over his wound.
Oh, you poor dear!
It's fine, Cobalt dismissed. I just need a healing potion.
It went through. Hang on.
Altrix opened one of her medical boxes, bringing out the potion in question.
Drink this.
Cobalt did as he was told, taking a swig from the potion and grimacing as the wound on his leg began to heal. Once it had, Altrix was quick to clean the blood away and then check the hoof over for any more issues. Only once she had done a full examination did she give Cobalt a clean bill of health, closed her box, and... she gave him a gold star. She gave him a gold fucking star! Cobalt glared at me. "Don't say anything. Not a word." Hey, I wasn't. Laughing doesn't count as saying stuff, right?
If the hoof shows any irritation, come straight back to me,
Altrix said to her new patient. That was one amazing transformation there, Altrix. I complimented the changeling, who just blinked at me in confusion. Then she flushed, shrinking back down again.
Oh, I just don't like seeing others hurt when I can help, that's all.
I'll say. While Altrix had been proving her dedication to medicine, Stripe had gone around the raider corpses for anything of use. They didn't seem to have much, with their junk armor and cobbled-together pipe weaponry. But Stripe did come back with something held in her grasp. "I found this," she announced, huffing me a note. Okay. Scout the area. Kill any pony not one of us. I read out the simple instructions scrawled messily in what I hoped was red ink. I guess there are more nearby. This might be one of the bigger gangs out here, Cobalt cautioned. Let's move carefully. We left the 3 corpses behind, keeping an eye out for any more raider patrols. We didn't see any, though that didn't mean there wasn't going to be any. Still, the town seemed as quiet as ever, deceptively so. Skirting the perimeter of the town further, it wasn't long before we finally set eyes on the Megamart. The building was sunken and decrepit, half of the sign having collapsed into the concrete. Rusted vehicles were strewn about outside, probably containing their fair share of skeletons. Everything seemed quiet at a first glance, though we were a small distance away with a limited view. Neither were we quite willing to just walk on in at the moment, what with our raider encounter and Watcher's dubious motivations. What we needed was some idea of what we might find in there. Fortunately for us, we had a good way of doing just that. We set up on a nearby hill, and we all laid down beneath a burnt tree as Stripe took her rifle and began to scope out the area. We remained low for a couple of minutes, Stripe examining things as the rest of us remained quiet so as not to disturb her. Oh, so that's what's going on here, Stripe finally noted with a frown. Stripe? I questioned, and in response she passed me her rifle. Huh? Look towards the front, she suggested. I did as she said, laying down and placing my eye on the scope. I scanned the area, and I saw a few raiders who had either just emerged from the Megamart or had just arrived there. Or both. Yes, 2 had just walked out of the building while another 3 walked up to it, with another pony being carried by one of them, bound and gagged. The bound pony was a Pegasus of all things. She was a dark gray with a rather punk-looking stylized purple mane, a leather jacket covering the front of her, while her cutie mark was clearly visible, being that of a blood-red moon. The Pegasus was dumped in front of the 2 emergent raiders, one of whom knelt down and removed the gag. They conversed for a few moments before the bound pony tried to bite his face off. I'm not kidding, she went all in. But it seemed the raider was expecting it. He quickly moved back while the others laughed at the attempt. Then they replaced the gag and dragged her inside, kicking and screaming. With dawning horror, I now understood just why Watcher decided to send us here. Not only was this the hideout of an entire gang of raiders, they were also keeping prisoners.